A very warm welcome to all of you. You're watching the Biz Talk from International Business Times India edition. And as promised last time, this time we have a very interesting guest with us. And the topic that we are going to discuss today is based on real estate. And then who better to discuss this particular topic on an industry which is globally one of the most recognized sectors and the second largest, won't be wrong to say, the employer in India after agriculture. And that being real estate, we have with us today the chairman of Anarock Property Consultants, Mr. Anuj Puri. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you here today. So you've been with JLL and now Anarock after your long stint at JLL.
Yes.
So what actually pushed you towards having acquiring JLL's real estate residential real estate arm at that point of time and getting into this particular?
So I think several things, and it's a very interesting question that you ask, is that what prompted me to move into the residential sector where not many organized players are there. I think there were 5 things that prompted, and if you're sitting at the 30,000 feet, you could actually see those 5 things, how the residential sector, both with the developers and with the brokers, is going to consolidate. So the first one was, there was a Real Estate Regulation Act, which was coming in force on 1st August 2017. It is very onerous on the developer, and it is equally onerous on the broker.
Right.
So brokers, not many know today, are now licensed. Just like what happened in Singapore or the UK or in the US, brokers have a license.
Right.
If they default in performing their duties, then 10% of the cost of the project they have to pay from their own pocket to the buyer,
right,
including 1 year imprisonment and cancellation of the license that they cannot practice.
Right.
We believe is that 70-80% of the brokers would get out of this profession.
Right.
So that was the first thing.
The unorganized
broker community who was really fly-by-night operators would not be able to survive through that. That was the first one. The second is that the developers are going to get consolidated. We're going to see again 60-70% of the developers on the other side of the tunnel in 18 months' time would not be there. That is how severe this regulation has come in there.
Right.
Yet on the other side, you would have a number of new corporates who would get into the real estate. So for example, you had a Godrej Mahindra Tatas in there.
Right.
You would now have a Bharti, you will have a Birlas, you'll have a Piramals, and like that, many other corporates, because it's become a mature business.
Right.
So that was the second thing, and we love to deal with those guys, people like myself or the people who are working in Anarock, very organized. The third is I was not going to do it as a regular residential broking. I wanted this to be a big digital play in their race. And for a period of time, I had been quoting Rahul Yadav, who was the owner and founder of housing.com, to come and join Anarock as the head of our technology and product, to build a fantastic lead platform, to build a fantastic digital platform, which is what he's been able to do. And today, we get 30,000 home buyers, unique home buyers every month on our platform, which is 1,000 home buyers every month. So that was the third thing, and mixture of online and offline rather than just traditional residential broking. Fourth, I discovered the buyers had become very discerning. They wanted to deal with organized advisors. They wanted to deal with consultants. They did not want to deal with a roadside broker who was just wanting to sell anything without proper representation or due diligence on the properties. And the fifth is, I've been in this sector for about 25 years. I saw the consolidation of this sector in the late 90s for the commercial happening. It was exactly the same before all the international property consultants came in. There were a huge amount of scattered local brokers. And then the international property consultants came in, and you could see the consolidation and the maturity in the sector. I think we're there with the residential today. You will see that fast forwarded by 3 to 5 years, this will be a segment just like what you have in more mature market, consolidated, organized, residential real estate brokers.
Right. So before we get into the talk about industry and try to understand things from you, it's about a $180 billion market. It's going to be by 2020. That's what people are talking about currently in the market. Now, could you just tell me where you see Anarock fitting, and what exactly is Anarock targeting? Which particular group of customers are you targeting?
Yeah. Again, there are superb questions that you have. So our thought process is that we want to target in the mid-level segment. We are not yet being able to crack into the affordable segment. So our thought is, if you look at the pyramid, we're not really going to be at the bottom of the pyramid. And in terms of the dollars, so below 80,000 US dollars, we're not going to be able to cater to that. Is, have we got a capability? Yes, we have. But we don't know how the business model works at less than $80,000 per unit. We're going to be between that 80,000 US dollars to 2 million US dollars. That is where our sweet spot is. That is the customer that we want to cater to. We will have a luxury and premium, which is ahead of $2 million. But we believe is that up to $2 million, you can still cater it and bring in the buyers through digital means. Beyond $2 million, it's a one-on-one. They usually do not come on their digital platform. So sweet spot for us, 80,000 to 2 million, whilst we'll cater to above 2 million, but that's the traditional way of broking one-on-one. Below 80,000, we're not going to be able to cater.
Right. So at the moment, we are in conversation with Mr. Anuj Puri, the former chairman of JLL and currently chairman of Anarock Property Consultants. And you just mentioned about the bottom of the pyramid and the fact about affordable residential homes and all. When you look at that particular sector in India, it has so far been really unorganized, and not many major property consultants or major builders for that matter have been really focusing on that. So everybody is focusing on making big bucks, but housing is actually an issue in this country. So how do you think we're going to be able to address that in the days to come?
So I think is that the developer mindset has started to shift. So they have realized that at the top of the pyramid, which was really premium and luxury, there is demand, but there's far greater supply. So I think is people are sort of shying away from doing the luxury or the premium. The middle part, they will still cater. So you'll find a number of developers which will still cater to that middle, 80,000 to 2 million. But we are finding a number of developers who are in that middle part actually wanting to get into the affordable. Again, 3-4 reasons. One is that the government is providing huge amount of fiscal and financial incentive on the affordable side. Second, their clearances of the approvals get quickly done by the state governments, because they are also really wanting to progress that is. Third, the buyer gets a lot of incentive on home loans if it is in the affordable category, and the affordable category the government is beautifully defined, saying is that if it is in a tier 2 city, it's 60 square meters and below, which is in terms of square feet, 600 square feet and lesser apartment size. If it's in a tier 1 city, it's 30 square meters and below. If they are in that affordable segment, interest rates is reduced. They get a reduction in the interest rates. And the fourth thing is that they have seen this infinite demand in the residential at that affordable level. The challenge, however, is how do you make money in that below 80,000? We know infinite demand, we know financial fiscal incentive by the government, we know that the mortgage rates are lower. How do you make money? How does the business model really work?
Economies of scale.
It is exactly what you're saying. But traditionally the developers in India haven't been really looking at economies of scale. Some of the cities like Bangalore, they do. But some of the cities like Bombay, they actually do not do it. So everybody is realigning and making this into an industry. Beautiful thing what has happened is it is becoming an industry. People understand that your profit margins are going to be in the high teens. It is going to be a lot more transparent. There has to be corporate governance, there has to be accounting, there has to be a lot of discipline towards the customer. Think through this as if this is an industry, as if you're manufacturing a car. What is the profit percentage you're going to be able to get? Yes, there is a higher risk in real estate than a car production. Add a bit of the risk premium to that. So if it was in a production cycle, you were making 12, 13, 14%, here you'll make higher teens, say 18, 19%. That is where this game is. That's where affordable, in your words, you're absolutely right. It is economies of scale that they are looking at. Those who are not going to be able to deliver it will have to exit this business.
Mr. Puri, when we talk of these the young buyers who are just entering the market, who have sort of gotten new jobs in the IT industry and other booming industry, the startups over here in India, when they think of buying in a tier 1 or a tier 2 city, it's usually beyond their budget at that point of time. So to those of our viewers who fall in that category, and that's a lot of people out there, especially in cities like Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, a lot of those buyers who are willing to buy but they are not very sure if they should take a risk of investing in a property above 1 crore or not. So what would your advice be to them at this point of time?
So I would say is they will get a product within the city at the value at what they desire. So what I mean by that is, previously this affordable housing people were doing it, but they were doing it at the periphery of the city.
Right.
Now a guy would say, boss, I'm not going to take 1.5 hours coming into the city to where I work and then 1.5 hours going back. If you have to do this, for example, if you have to deliver something below 1 crore, which is most of the people's, young people's, couples, capability and capacity to pay, you do it in the city. Because we're not going to be traveling 3 hours going to and fro from the work is. Most of the developers are now producing products which are below 1 crore within the city. Right. What they're doing is not necessarily that they're shrinking the per square foot cost. They are making the apartments more efficient, more effective. For example, in Bombay, there are developers in Andheri, which is, real prime area, where they are now being able to bring apartments at 90 lakh rupees. Previously in Andheri, it would be at least 3 crores plus that do. At 90 lakh rupees. Why? Because they're bringing 1 bedroom, studio apartments, 1.5 bedroom. Buyer is saying that's fine.
I think by and large in India needs that.
Exactly. And they're very happy. They say, boss, this is how much money I have in my pocket. Now tell me what I can get. You are giving me 3-4 bedroom. I do not have that money. They would say, boss, I do not have that money. I am going to exit. I cannot buy this. Today you are bringing the product, which is what they require. And hence their capacity to consume and capacity to pay. And this is where the real estate cycle will start to come back again. Right. Because you are now bringing the product. The buyer was never saying that bring down the cost of the per square foot cost of the project. Right. They were saying, we don't understand your per square foot cost. We have nothing to do. I have 1 crore rupees. What can you give me in 1 crore?
Give me a home.
Give me a home in 1 crore. Right. I don't know whether it's 20,000 rupees or 18,000 or 22,000 rupees a square foot. I don't know. I need a nice home, which should have safety, security, facilities, and it needs to be in a better location. That is what you give me. This is what the developers are working. They're efficiently bringing Hong Kong designs, Singapore designs, New York, Manhattan designs, because these designs are in smaller apartments, but not claustrophobic apartments.
And how soon can we see this actually happening on ground?
I would say is in the next 3 to 6 months, you would see many of these launches where they will be in the 30 square meters. 30 square meters is like 300 square feet. I mean, 300 square feet times 20,000 rupees in a city like Bombay, you are at 60-70 lakh rupee. You're making an apartment. Now that is affordability for somebody living in Bombay as a young couple. The question that you asked.
And that's how you get to own a property.
You own a property. And people want to. People are emotionally still inclined to own the property rather than lease it out.
So do you think currently, looking at the current Indian market and the startup boom, the IT sector booming, for young people out there, young professionals out there, is it better to rent or to buy?
It's a question that is going on for quite a while. Is it better to rent or is it to buy? I think that the property prices, what levels they are today, and if you're able to find the product that suits your budget, I think it's better to buy. In there is the lease rentals you will start to see will continue to firm up as the unsold inventory starts to go down. We're seeing last 6 quarters, and this is fantastic data. Last 6 quarters, every quarter, sales has been more than the new launches, which means your unsold inventory is actually getting down. The moment that comes to a level where the demand starts to go above the supply, your rentals will go up. Today the yields are 1 or 2%, and hence the rentals are lower compared to the capital value of the property. But as you will see the vacancy levels of the apartments coming down, your rentals will start to go up to 3 to 4%. At that stage, it will make sense to own. But that stage is not that far, and hence I'm saying is a viewer who's listening and hearing and seeing this should start to investigate that over the next 3 to 6 months, if they do get the right opportunity, they should buy.
Post demonetization, a lot of people in the industry say that there is a crisis building up in the real estate sector at the moment. You mentioned about inventories. Huge inventories are building up. For top builders, they have huge inventory at the moment. But that hasn't really reflected in the prices. The prices haven't really come down. What could be the reason? There's unsold inventory, yet the prices aren't coming down.
So 2 things. One, the unsold inventory is largely in the premium and the luxury. spaces. Yes, there is unsold inventory in the middle. There is no unsold inventory in the affordable. Affordable is only really coming up now.
Right.
And there is the unsold inventory in the premium and the luxury. Developer is willing to do a one-on-one. So they're willing to sit down anywhere between 7% to 17%. They're willing to negotiate. And there is. Are they going to go and paint the town red by saying we're bringing down the price? Unlikely. Why? Because they previously sold at a higher price. Now they can't go out and put hoardings everywhere to say, price fall and this and that. But if there is an astute buyer, he will be able to negotiate.
I'll ask you a direct question now. Do you think banks are also somehow, arm twisting the builders the developers that do not reduce the prices beyond the extent?
I don't think so. I don't think why I don't think is because they have their payments to come in. They are saying, as boss, you sell and you pay back our construction finance that you had taken. In fact, if anything, banks are more encouraging to the developer to say is, can you bring down your price and improve the velocity, improve the momentum, because your cash flows are hurting. Get that whatever you were going to pay us as interest for the next 1 year, can you pass on that interest to the consumer? So if you were going to pay us say 12%, 13% through this year as the debt, as the interest on the debt, can you actually pass the 12-13% to the buyer and say, buyer, if you buy today, I'm going to actually give it to you at 12%, 13% discount. That is what the banks are saying, rather than asking the developers to hold the price.
Right. Now, speaking about the segment that you are targeting,
yes.
$80,000 to $2 million at the moment. These people mostly either they live in India or they live outside India. They are NRIs mostly. Now, when they start investing or think about investing in India, the bigger problem they face is where to invest. First thing, because you have the tier 1 cities, but somehow they seem to be pretty much saturated at this point of time. And if you find something in the city, those prices are really skyrocketing. So what sense does it make for an NRI investor to invest in a tier 1 city, which is already where the ROI anyways is less? At the same time, it is already quite saturated a market.
Yeah. So I would say is in a tier 1 city, the NRI investor or an investor should look at 3 or 4 things. One, I would say do not buy where it's a secondary sale. Right. Buy where it is a primary sale, which means that the developer is selling it for the first time in their risk. Second, try and buy if you can during the launch, because that is the best time to be able to get the sweetest deal. Right. Third is the old inventory which was there, which was larger apartments, which were more expensive apartment, premium apartments.
Right.
But try and buy in the mid-level or in that affordable housing. Fourth, previously people were reluctant to buy under construction or launch because I didn't know how long it was going to take for the developer. Today,
that's a very big issue.
It's a big issue. Yeah. Issue solved. Issue solved by Real Estate Regulation Act, saying to the developer, Mr. Developer, if you're not going to be able to deliver it, as a regulator, I have a right to take that project from you and give it to the next developer. Previously, also the courts could do it. But the trouble was that the developer had taken more money from the buyers and there was no money in the bank account to complete the project. Correct. Today, the buyer has to put 70% of the money into an escrow account. As a result of it, when the regulator takes it from the developer and brings in a new developer, he also gives the 70% of the money that is kept in the escrow. Right. So that's why developers have become very serious of the timelines that they are going to deliver. Very serious of what they are publishing in the brochures and what they are going to deliver. Very serious of their verbal communications that there should be no disenchantment to the buyer so that they don't get hauled by the regulator. I just feel it's becoming a superbly clean, clear environment. It's only been 2-3 months since RERA has come in. Give it 12 months, give it 14 months. You will see is a lot of the questions and a lot of the inhibitions that the investor or the buyer had would go away.
So we have these smart cities coming out in India.
Yes.
The government has announced that. Do you see an opportunity for Anarock over there in smart cities?
I see a big opportunity for Anarock in smart cities. These are new cities that are being built up. These are also cities that are in existence, but they're going to be re-energized. We find 2 parts of opportunity. One is really on the research and consulting, and second is on the residential brokerage. And on both, we are energized by what the government has been able to do at the center level and how they've been able to push the states.
Now, speaking of demonetization, it's been a very, very, very controversial topic, right? Everybody is very wary of speaking on this topic. But let's just be honest over here. Tell us, what do you think personally was the effect of demonetization on India's real estate sector? Yeah. Many say it broke its backbone.
Yeah, it certainly did. It certainly did for a period of time. So let me classify it into two parts. One is primary, and just for the viewers, I'll explain what primary means. Primary means when a developer sells for the first time to a buyer.
Right.
Usually there was not a cash element in there. Lots of people think is that there was, and I'm not making it up. Usually there wasn't. Most of the developers, they're selling 500,000 apartments. They cannot take cash. In 500 apartment, 1,000 apartment, the information will get leaked out. Usually they would not have.
Right.
In that is. In the secondary, there was a huge amount of cash element in there. So what happened is, in November last year, demonetization happened. Because there was a cash element in the secondary, that got jammed. The moment that got jammed and the prices went down, it had a effect on the primary. Because your secondary went down, it pulled the primary. The primary till December, the market was really shut. From 8th of November last year to 31st of December, market was shut. January, it started to pick up. By March, it had come back. So really 4 or 5 months was trouble. Not because there was cash element in the primary, but because there was cash element in the secondary, and that had a cascading impact on the primary. It was pretty brutal. And 5 months is a lot of time for the developers. If they were selling, say, 100 units and they're now down to 20 or 30 or 40 units, that's a significant.
Right.
Did it ever catch up, that shortfall? Did it ever catch up? It never caught up. So, whatever the shortfall was in sort of November, December, January, February, March, I think they did come back.
Is done.
Yeah, that damage is done.
Right. All right. So now, in the end, I would just like you to tell our viewers about what Anarock is planning to do in the upcoming months, and what can one expect from Anarock? Because I believe you're also planning to invest some 300 crores of money. What is that? Please tell us that.
So we have two parts to the business. Right. One is our residential brokerage business, which is a hybrid between digital and offline. Right. We have 1,000 people in that. We're moving up to 5,000 people on the residential brokerage part. On the fund management part, we have monies to do two things. One, give developers as debt. We call it as mezzanine. Right. So, some of the developers for the last mile, where they've completed the apartment or the building by 80%, 90%, and last 10, 20% that they require. Right. We're able to give them that is. Second is that we are buying completed unsold inventory in bulk from developers at a discount. So for example, if the apartment was to be sold at say 1 crore, we will buy say 50 apartments, 60 apartments in one go at a discount from the developers, and then sell it through the Anarock or even otherwise, if there are other brokers who can sell it, it's not a must that we have to sell it.
So you're open to that also?
We're open to that.
Right, wonderful. It was lovely talking to you,
Lovely,
Mr. Puri.
Lovely.
So we had
by you.
Thank you. So we had with us Mr. Anuj Puri, the chairman of Anarock Property Consultants today. We discussed some really, really interesting things today, right from RERA to the stagnant residential real estate market in India, also the effects of demonetization as well. And most importantly, the advice for young buyers out there in the market right now, looking to buy, looking to invest in real estate. We hope you enjoyed today's show. We will be back next week with another guest. Till then, do take good care of yourselves. Thank you very much for tuning in.